Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is in Berlin for virtual talks with European leaders and Donald Trump prior to the latter's meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska on Friday. In an online call, European leaders, including UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, are set to reiterate that no decisions should be made without Ukraine, including changing its boundaries by force. Zelensky states that pressure must be exerted on Russia for the sake of a fair peace last week. Trump stated that there will be some swapping of territories to the betterment of both Russia and Ukraine, raising concerns in Kyiv and across Europe that Moscow may rewrite Ukraine's borders. Russia presently controls just about 20% of Ukrainian territory. No official details have emerged on what demands Putin may make when he visits Trump. We've just heard a few words from U.S. President Donald Trump ahead of their virtual encounter today. In a brief post on his platform Truth Social, Trump writes, "We'll be calling with European leaders shortly. They are wonderful people who want to see a deal completed. A number of diplomatic talks on the Ukraine conflict are scheduled for the day around 1300 hours British Summer Time, 12 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. We can expect a video call involving European leaders and NATO members, as well as President Zelensky." Around an hour later, at approximately 1400 hours British Summer Time, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance will join the talks. The BBC believes that German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and President Zelensky will make speeches at 1500 hours British Summer Time in the afternoon. The coalition of the willing will meet virtually at 1530 British Summer Time. We will keep track of all today's activities on this site, so keep checking in with us. Zelensky has just stepped out of the chopper and hugged German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. The couple stops for a photo before going inside, followed by a crowd. With 2 days to the Alaska summit, there are considerable uncertainties about the outcome, especially given Russia's inflexible preconditions for ending the war. Russia's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Alexei Fadeev emphasized in a press briefing this morning that Russia's policy has not changed since President Putin announced it in June 2024. At the time, Putin stated that a truce would begin the moment the Ukrainian government withdrew from 4 territories partially seized by Russia: Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia. He also stated that Ukraine would have to publicly abandon its efforts to join the NATO military alliance. These are maximalist demands that neither Kyiv nor its European partners consider viable. While Russia controls much of the Luhansk region, it has been unable to capture large portions of Donetsk, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia, implying that Ukraine would be forced to cede significant territory in those areas. Only on Tuesday did President Zelensky rule out giving up even Luhansk and Donetsk, the Donbass region. Many Ukrainians feel that any truce with Russia will only pave the way for another invasion. Therefore, committing to not joining NATO is out of the question. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has come in Berlin for a virtual meeting with the President of the United States and leaders from Europe at 28 degrees Celsius. The German capital welcomes you warmly. We expect him to meet with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz shortly. Stay tuned. While the conflict in Ukraine began 3 years ago, Russia's initial invasion began in 2014 when pro-Russian Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych was deposed by widespread protests. Moscow's military captured Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula, while Russian proxies fought against the government, capturing areas of eastern Luhansk and Donetsk provinces. The present full-scale invasion and conflict began in February 2022, when President Vladimir Putin ordered his troops to cross the border and take Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, as well as much of the country's northeast and south. After repelling Russia's advances on Kyiv in the following months, Ukraine reclaimed considerable territory in the northeast Kharkiv and southern Kherson districts. Since 2022, battlefield movement has been slow on both sides, with Ukraine mostly on the defensive. European officials have warned against using force to alter Ukrainian borders ahead of Trump and Putin's meeting on Friday. According to a statement signed by 26 of 27 EU leaders, the values of territorial integrity and international borders must not be changed by force, must be preserved. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, who has maintained good relations with Russia and has often attempted to thwart European Union backing for Ukraine, was not among the signatories. European countries have a long history of brutal battles redrawing borders, and they are deeply frightened that the United States will allow this to happen in Ukraine. The EU rejects formal acknowledgement of Russia's sovereignty over territories taken via war. On Tuesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke by phone with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. During the call, Kim and Putin reaffirmed their commitment to the further development of friendship relations, good neighborliness, and cooperation, according to a Kremlin statement. According to a North Korean media report on the call, Kim highly appreciated the country's expanding collaboration. According to the Kremlin, they also addressed Putin's preparations for his summit with U.S. President Donald Trump in Alaska on Friday, which North Korea did not mention since Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Pyongyang has deployed at least 10,000 troops alongside Russian forces, leading to improved relations between the two countries. This week it was reported that North Koreans were subjected to slave-like conditions while working in Moscow's construction industry due to labor shortages caused by the war. The goal of today's meetings is to show that Europe still has a shaping role in Ukraine's future and ensuring a united approach to shoring up Kyiv, whatever happens this week, according to Anne McElvoy, executive editor of Politico. According to McElvoy, Europe's leaders are unlikely to have much effect on what Putin and Trump agree on in Alaska on Friday, and Trump is signaling that he intends to force Zelensky's hand instead. Today's virtual talks are an attempt to use the cordial relations of leaders in Europe to try to get the least worst outcome, she argues. They want to ensure that Ukraine's sovereignty and ability to expand its military presence are not traded away in Alaska, even if territory, as she explains. According to McElvoy, leaders on the continent believe that Trump is being strung along by Putin, who will break any land for peace deal. Probably sooner than later, Volodymyr Zelensky will join European leaders later today in meetings aimed at boosting pressure on Donald Trump to support Ukraine during a summit with Vladimir Putin in Alaska on Friday. Here's what we know about the conversations. Germany called the meeting. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz convened the meeting, and Ukraine's president is traveling to Berlin to join him for a video chat with other European leaders, including UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron. The major players, other major personalities slated to attend this afternoon are NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, and the leaders of Finland, France, Italy, and Poland. A second round with Trump. They are then anticipated to speak with Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance during the second phase of the conference call. It is unclear whether all previous meeting attendees will speak with the U.S. president and his deputy.